Hey, church family, it is June 10th. This is going to be a little bit longer of a midweek message than what you're used to. Bear with me. I've got a lot of important announcements to get through. So, bear that in mind. I'll do the best I can to keep it brief. So, first off, excited to walk us through kind of what our big upcoming outdoor service that we're doing on June 21st. June 21st, we're gathering here. We're going to have our first outdoor service in this crazy COVID season. So the service will be at 10 a.m. 10 a.m., one service here up at the hill. When you get here, you're going to be directed on where to park, probably down below where you normally would probably park, and then you'll go up to the top. As of right now, the plan is to gather on the top of the lawn for that gathering, where we'll have a tent set up where the band and the preacher and all of that will be. And so here's what you can expect. I'm going to go through a list of things to kind of walk you through the process that we think makes sense right now. And everything as we move forward into the future, things are subject to change. But right now, this is what we're going to do for our first attempt at this. Let me say before I get into any of this is, hey, look, let's recognize this is an adventure. Really, truly, in some ways, I think we should laugh. I mean, we don't laugh at the loss of life and the sickness, but we do laugh at the realities of we're going to do the best we can with a strange time and having what it is, I think, our first outdoor service. So it's going to be an adventure. I think we'll have some fun with it, and I think it is important for you to recognize to have a spirit of flexibility and grace as we go through this. June 21st, 10 a.m., one service. The service we'll keep it to a 1 hour because of the variables that we can't control, like weather. It might be blazing hot even by 10 a.m. So we'll keep it rather short. Like I said, you'll get to the top of the hill. What we're going to do is we're going to paint on the lawn right here up the top of the hill a grid. And that grid will be open for you to kind of grab a space. And then this way, having kind of painted lines allows us to all have kind of an understanding of what proper social distancing is, because we still want to honor social distancing. And so that gives us some way of understanding how to do that properly. And so you can grab a space. What we want you to do in terms of what we want you to bring, we want you to, first of all, bring lawn chairs, okay? Bring your own. We're not going to provide seating. Bring your own lawn chairs, bring your own blanket. If that's what you want to do, that's okay, for your own seating. We want you to please bring a mask. We want you to wear that mask upon arriving and getting out of your car and getting settled. And we want you to wear that mask, please, while singing. And if you want to take that mask off during the sermon, that's okay. It's uncomfortable. We recognize, and we know that there are masked people and not so much masked people. Like, we're trying to strike a middle ground. We're trying to ask a lot of questions and listen to the best expert advice. There's still a lot of unknowns, but right now, that's what we're asking to do, to try to honor the moment, honor the weak, honor the vulnerable in those situations. And so please do that. We're asking you to please, like I said, respect social distancing. Like when you're getting here and when you're leaving, the playground will be off limits to all you families with kids. I know that this is hard. I know that this is a big request, but we're asking you to please do your best to contain kids, which I know is like herding cats. I've got a 1-year-old and a 5-year-old, and it is hard. They're not exactly willing to abide by all of our rules and expectations, and so do the best you can with that. And so, respect those boundaries that some people may have that you don't have, and so please just come in with that level of expectation. Hey, I don't know where this individual is going to be, and so I'm going to assume that these people, this person wants me to keep my distance, and so please do that. We will not be providing children's ministry. That's probably obvious to you, but What we will do is provide activities for them provided through the children's ministry. And so what they're saying, their suggestion is, hey, bring a blanket for your kids, maybe bring a tent if that makes sense for your little ones. Bring snacks. Kids love snacks. My kid loves snacks. So bring snacks for them. That makes a lot of sense. Bring crayons and pencils and pens so that they can draw on the activities that the children's ministry provides for them. Now the service will be, take note of this, the service will be now live streamed. We've been recording it in advance. Now we're going to move to a live stream model. So that way for all those that do not attend can still in some ways, in some fashion, participate with us, because that's what we want, man. We really want to have, as much as we can, some kind of realistic gathering. And so even though we'll be outside, we're still going to record it and we're still going to live stream it. And so if you want to participate in real time, do that. The way you do it is you go into your app. You can also have you can go onto the Facebook page, the Oaks Facebook page, and there'll be a link provided for you to click, and then that way you can tune in with us live. If you can't get to it until later, that's okay. At that point then it'll obviously just be there for you to watch. So be on the lookout for that for those that cannot attend. We understand that there will not be, maybe many of you who will not attend, and that's okay. This is a small step for us. Doing live stream, having an outdoor service, just right now, it makes sense for us, and we want to try to honor where everyone is and do the best we can, strike a middle ground, is what I would say. If it rains, service is canceled. If you get up, 9:30 a.m., you're getting ready, you're excited to come here, and it starts raining, you don't even have to bother to try to look it up. It's going to be canceled, okay? And what will happen is the team will just move inside and go ahead and do that service in an empty space, and so that it continues to go out via live stream. Last thing I say about this list of things is just there are house rules for us here as a team of elders, and what I mean by that is we reserve the right to change our mind. And so if information pops up this week, next week, 3 weeks from now, whatever it is, where it just gives us alarm, I don't foresee that happening, but if it does, we reserve the right to hit the pause button and say, hey guys, never mind, we're not going to be hosting that this weekend. And so just stay closely tied with us as we work through this fluid thing. And so essentially we'll be doing these outdoor services for the unforeseeable future, until it makes sense for us to kind of go to the next phase, which might be like maybe going inside with certain guidelines. I don't know. I'm not going to get into that right now. Right now, this is what we're going to do, and we reserve the right to change things as it goes. Now, look, here's what I would say. For some of you, it doesn't make sense to come out right now into a public gathering yet. For some of you, it doesn't make sense. For some of you, you're just not ready. I want to be really clear. Okay, I want to be loving, reasonable, and clear with you. We truly respect and honor, we seek to honor the differences that exist within the body and just the community at large on this particular issue, okay? We all recognize that all of us, well, not all of a sudden, but this thing, very unfortunately, as crazy as it is become a polarizing, dividing issue. Why a virus has become something that divides people, it's actually not beyond me, but it is still sad to me, and I think it's probably sad to you. So we recognize, though, that there are differences, and we want to do our best to love people through those differences and honor and respect those differences. So what I would say is this is a time, hear me now please, this is a time to be reasonable, this is a time to be flexible, this is a time to be patient, empathetic, gentle in the way you exercise your opinions and your rights, and it is a time to, above all, be loving towards people. So for those that are unable to attend, and for some of you, depending on your circumstances at home, depending on, maybe you're caring for an elderly person, maybe you've got a vulnerable person within your nuclear family or whatever that is, it doesn't make sense, and we encourage that for you to not attend. I mean, it saddens us to not see people. We want to see people. There's obvious reasons why we want to try to strike a middle ground and gather, and I think that would probably make sense for you. Like, as a church, we know that gathering is really, really important. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it under normal circumstances. We know that being scattered like this, something is lost. And if you say, really, well, I feel great. Well, listen, well, why would we gather? You know, if we can benefit perfectly from being a church that's separated in the flesh like this, then we would just do it all the time. But we don't. We know there's something really sacred and special about gathering together. But this thing is crazy and weird, and yeah, there is still risk, and there's gonna still be risk. And so I recognize, as do the other elders, that there are people that have circumstances that may not look like mine or theirs. And so we're trying our best to say, essentially, let's do something that seems wise for where we're at in this particular time. And let's not judge and look down upon those in situations that are very difficult to navigate. And so we're asking you to do the same. Reserve that judgment. Ask better questions. And even when you don't understand, give people the benefit of the doubt. And say, hey, maybe there might be something there in their home or in their family dynamic that's different than mine. And so if you can't come, that's okay. We're not requiring anyone to come. And we know some of you are going to be super excited to come, even though we have to stay somewhat separated in terms of being 6-7 feet apart. Like, there's still something special about doing what we can to get together and sing together and pray together and take communion together, which, by the way, that'll probably look different as well. We won't have the normal style of communion, but we'll have like an individual kind of wrapped bread and juice that you can take part in. And so that way we're not sharing from all the same thing, which, strange. It's not ideal. It's where we're at. I hope it's temporary. But that just seems to be okay. And I firmly believe that God is not angry or disappointed in us as we try to use wisdom and figure out how to be wise and loving to our neighbors in a time that's as strange as this, when information is, well, abounding, but clear facts isn't always there. So yeah, that'll be there. We're trying to act in wisdom. We're trying to be helpful here. And we're trying to let our reasonableness shine forth. One thing is clear, and that is this. We really want to be together as soon as we can. We miss not being together. We really think it is important to while at the same time recognize that there is risk and fear, we also want to recognize that it's important to try to push ourselves and our fears for what is good. And so this is for us what it looks like to kind of take a first step and take a first step in a first phase and what it looks like to get back to a place of really gathering as a people. If you have questions about any of those things, maybe I missed something, please send us an email, reach out, and we'll try to clarify what we can on that. So June 21st, 10 a.m., excited for that. And let's roll with it. Let's have fun with it. Now, I also just have to say this. This is strange to say off the tail end of this, but I also want to say that sadly I won't be here for it. So please don't think less of me. Here's the reality. I want to get into some of this for you. I'm taking a short sabbatical that starts next week. That's the same time of year that I always do. I take some time off. The timing is less than ideal. I grant that. I feel that. I'm saddened by that. I'm struggling with it. I've been struggling with it. I've had a lot of conversations. I've had a lot of prayer over this issue. A lot of really fruitful conversation with my wife and with the elders over this particular issue. And at times really had to be pushed because it's hard for me to let go. It's hard for me to step away. I love this place. I love you, and I want to be a part of this. But there are two reasons I want to share with you why I'm sticking to my commitment to withdraw for a short season. So two reasons. The first reason is this, which is my very own health, and I'm okay. So don't signal alarm bells here. Please know that I miss you and I love you, and I'm grateful for you all. This place and you are my calling. This is where my heart is, and so it has nothing to do with any of that. That's why it's really hard for me to step away. But I do need to step away from teaching, and I need to step away from this stinking camera that I've been in front of for 3.5 months. I love to preach, I love to teach, I love to try to help and give guidance to people and to get God's word out and walk people through it. I believe God has called me to do those things. But as the sage in Ecclesiastes says, there is a time for everything under the sun, and there is a time to keep silent, and there is a time for speaking. And at a certain point, and that point is now for me, very soon, it is a time for me to be silent. And here's what I would tell you, and I want you to know, I think this is helpful for you to know. In general, preaching all the time, being in front of people all the time, and frequently has a tax on the soul of a man or a woman. And particularly in this pandemic season where we're wrought full of fear and a heightened restlessness and anxiety, as well as the fighting and the hatred that has been on display in front of us and in our feeds, on our phones and in our computers. It's been even more taxing to try to speak into that and make sense of it. And leaders of all types, in general, need to ensure that they take moments and seasons to do what I think we see Job did in a time of like strife and suffering. It's Job 40, verse 4 and 5. He says, I lay my hand on my mouth. And that's what this is about for me. He says, I lay my hand on my mouth. I have spoken once, I have spoken twice. I will proceed no further. There's a time when people like me, who are always preaching, need to lay their hand on their mouth. And of course, we look at Jesus himself, and there are so many times when he would withdraw to a desolate place, or as the NIV says, to lonely places, to pray. When leaders like myself don't take this kind of pattern seriously, danger is always lurking. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to exit out of the scene. I'm going to exit out of the spotlight, the speaking, the decision-making for a month. And I'm going to do that just so I can be with God in a very unique and uninterrupted way, and I'm going to be with my family in a unique and uninterrupted way, and so I can soak them in and remember my humanity, recover some of my humanity, make sure, guard myself from any grievous ways that are in me that would potentially disqualify me and my ability to be helpful, honest, live with integrity in front of you. This time really allows me to make sure that I do that. And so I will return, Lord willing, with a little bit more of my humanity and health intact and in place. And so that's reason number one. Reason number two is just this. I trust in the plurality, and I want you to know that I trust in the plurality of the elders of this church. It is good for them, it is good for me, it is good for you to see this church, that it is not directed and cared for solely by my personality, my presence, and my preferences. It's just not. It is cared for, it is guided by qualified, godly men and women, and that's really important to me, and I want to keep it that way. And this is a kind of just a safety measure that we put in place to make sure, like, hey, it's not this isn't centered around just my personality or my preferences, but it's really truly a church that's led and guided in a plurality. So I love the elders here. I truly do. And I think it's good for us to truly exercise that plurality of leadership in a really heightened sense for a short season. And so that's what's going to happen. So I'm going to step out for the next month, and I do so with peace and with gratitude. If you'd be willing, please pray for me and pray for my family. Pray for the other elders as they lead and care for the church. And just to be clear, they always do. They're always leading and they're always caring for, even when I'm here and I'm doing all of this speaking and preaching. So, but please pray for me in my time away, for me to meet with God in a real special way. And I pray that my heart will not be troubled, as Jesus tells his disciples, because it is hard for me to leave. I'm going to be honest with you. It's a struggle for me to not be in the place and with the people that I feel so deeply called to. And so, but like Jesus withdrew, I want to withdraw. And so I pray that I abide in God's love in a way where his fruit comes out, that I return and I've got a growing, developing spirit about me, and that I'm growing in love, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. I want to see these things. I want to see to it that the soil of my heart is receiving the Spirit and growing in these things. And so please pray that that happens for me, and that I don't worry too much, and that I don't let fear take over, and that I have a leisurely, what one pastor I love says, a kind of leisurely relationship with God, where I just enjoy him and soak him in, and I let him speak to me and reveal what needs to be revealed in my heart and in my life. I look forward to being with you and seeing you soon. If you have questions, please reach out. Peace be with you.